Indian polity, constitution, why and how? What is a constitution? Every society consists of some sets of rules or ideals that make it what it is and differentiate it from other kinds of societies. In large societies, these rules are formulated through consensus, and in modern countries, the consensus is usually available in written form. On similar lines, a constitution is a body or a document which consists of certain fundamental rules and principles that all persons in a country can agree upon on the basis of the way in which they want the country to be governed. Who can decide which rules are the best to suit for a country? The constitution specifies the basic allocation of power in a society. It decides who gets to decide what the laws will be. In the constitution, it is specified that in most instances parliament gets to decide laws and policies, and that parliament itself be organized in a particular manner. Purpose and function of a constitution lays down certain ideals that forms the basis of the kind of a country that we as citizens aspire to live in. Constitution defines the nature of a country's political system, plays a crucial role in laying out certain important guidelines that govern decision making within these societies. It provides a set of basic rules that allows to minimal coordination amongst members of society, provides safeguards against the leaders who might misuse their authority, sets some limits on what a government can impose on its citizens. These limits are fundamental in the sense that the government may never trespass them. Example: Asim Trivedi Shreya Singhal case, Section 66A of IT Act, protects minorities from the tyranny of the majority, that is, from the inter-community and intra-community domination. Example: apartheid movement in South Africa. Constitution saves us from ourselves. This may sound strange, but what is meant by this is that we might at times feel strongly about an issue that might go against our larger interest, and the constitution helps us guard against this. It helps to protect us against certain decisions that we might take that could have an adverse effect on the larger principle that the country believes in. Therefore, the constitution sets authoritative constraints upon what one may or may not do. Example: cow slaughter, Ghar Wapsi issue, enables the government to fulfill the aspiration of a society and create conditions for a just society. Directive principle of state policy, DPSP, and various acts. Constitution expresses the fundamental identity of a people. In many countries, constitution remains defunct. Why? Because they are crafted by military leaders or leaders who are not popular. Example: junta rule of Myanmar, Nepal constitution, crafted by leaders who do not have the ability to carry the people with them. Why the constitution of countries like India, South Africa, and United States is the most successful? The constitution were created in the aftermath of popular national movements and were crafted by popular leaders who had the ability to take forward the citizens with them and were highly credible. Drawing upon a long history of the nationalist movement that had a remarkable ability to take along different sections of society together. Example: Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, etc. Constitution drew enormous legitimacy from the fact that it was drawn up by people who enjoyed immense political credibility, who had the capacity to negotiate and command the respect of a wide cross section of the society, who were able to convince the people that the constitution was not an instrument for the aggrandizement of their personal power. In some countries, not India, constitution was framed on the basis of a full-fledged referendum where all the people vote on the desirability of a constitution. Therefore, the authority of the people who enact the constitution helps determine in parts its prospects for success. The hallmark of a successful constitution or effective constitution is one which gives everyone in society some reason to go along with its provisions, does not allow permanent majorities to oppress minority groups within society, does not systematically privilege some members at the expense of others, or that systematically entrench the powers of small groups in society, does not stifle the identity of any group, has to convince people that it provides the framework for pursuing basic justice, preserves the freedom and equality of all its members, fragments power in society intelligently so that no simple group can subvert the constitution, ensure that no single institution acquires a monopoly of power, provides for balanced institutional design, that is an intelligent system of checks and balances, strikes the right balance between certain values, norms, and procedures as authoritative, and at the same time allow enough flexibility in its operation to adapt to changing needs and circumstances. It is not too rigid or too flexible. Such a constitution can ensure that it will survive as a document respected by people. How was the constitution made? The constitution was made by Constituent Assembly, which had been elected for undivided India, first sitting on 9th December 1946 and reassembled on Constituent Assembly for divided India on 14 August 1947. Much before the Constituent Assembly finally came into being, the demand for such a Constituent Assembly was first echoed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad in 1946. Rajendra Prasad quoted Mahatma Gandhi that Swaraj would mean wishes of the people as expressed through their freely chosen representatives. However, the idea of a Constituent Assembly to frame a constitution for India was first mooted by M.N. Roy in 1934. Members were elected by indirect election by the members of the provincial legislative assembly that had been established in 1935. The Constituent Assembly was composed roughly along the lines suggested by the plan proposed by the Committee of British Cabinet known as Cabinet Mission. Cabinet Mission Plan. According to this plan, each province and each princely state or group of states were allotted seats proportional to their respective population, roughly in the ratio of 1:10 lakh. The seats in each province were distributed among the three main communities, Muslim, Sikh and General, in proportion to their respective population. Members of each community in the provisional legislative assembly elected their own representatives by the method of proportional representation with a single transferable vote. The method of selection in case of representatives of princely state was to be determined by consultation. In a Constituent Assembly, what is Constituent Assembly? The body of representatives is composed of drafting a constitution. In our times, we have recently seen how Nepal's Constituent Assembly have drafted its constitution recently. We note that drafting the constitution is the only function of a Constituent Assembly. Once the constitution is ready and adopted, the assembly is dissolved. Further, since members of the Constituent Assembly are representatives, elected or unelected, it is a form of representative democracy.